Hey guys, welcome to the ATP Project. You're with your host Steve and Nick. Hey Steve.
How are you?
I'm good.
I'm kind of resistant to do this podcast.
I'm just waiting for
Segue!
Segue king.
No, I'm not resistant to this podcast, but what are we talking about today, Nick?
We're talking about insulin resistance.
Oh.
But there's a catch. There's a
catch.
Yeah.
Because it's all diet, isn't it?
Well, no, Steve, it's not. And that's the premise of the podcast. So it's drivers of insulin resistance beyond diet.
Right.
So everyone just thinks if you get insulin resistance because you eat too much sugar and that sort of thing. But there's other causes and other drivers of insulin resistance.
Plenty of them. And the classic one you mentioned, diet, which we're not going to talk a lot about today, but I'm going to give you a 1 minute synopsis. If you eat a lot of sugars, okay, what happens is you have all sorts of hormonal changes, but it turns into triglycerides. Triglycerides block insulin resistance. So you block insulin receptors. So your insulin doesn't work as well. So you need more of it to get the sugar in the cell. Your body pumps out more. So you've got normal sugars, but super high insulin resistance. And if that keeps going, you end up with type 2 diabetes. There you go. Long story short, that's diet. That's it.
That's diet.
But that's what we're not talking about today.
Yeah.
We've talked about it heaps.
Yes. Which is interesting. And I don't think I put it in the notes actually that people who get blood testing done, they never test insulin.
I know.
Doctors will never test insulin unless it's asked for and probably paid for. I don't think it's under Medicare. So they will always test blood glucose levels. Yep. Well, always, if you request it, and HbA1c.
Hemoglobin A1c, yep.
Yeah, which is like a 3-month kind of overview of how your blood sugar has been behaving.
Yep.
But you could have normal levels of blood glucose and HbA1c and very high insulin.
Yes, and that's insulin resistance.
That's right.
Because your body makes insulin from the pancreas, the beta cells, and so it pumps out all this insulin to literally force blood sugar levels down. But why do people get insulin resistant? And this is what we're going to talk about today. And it's more than just a shitty diet of sugars and lots of cereals and those sorts of things, which you got to stop eating. I mean, the data's clear on this. It's no longer a health food, even the unrefined grains, which is no such thing because
you can't. Go back to our grains podcast. We talked about refined and
the whole grain thing. You can't eat a whole grain; it'll chip your tooth.
It would chip your tooth. So
it's really scary, isn't it? So we've got these things in the cells called GLUT4s. Now, glutes everyone thinks is your ass.
Well, that is your gluteus maximus.
Gluteus maximus. But what's a GLUT4, Nick?
So GLUT4 it's like a protein that sort of behaves like a gatekeeper. So it sort of sits in the cell and it comes out and pulls in the sugars and when they're needed, and then when they're not, closes off. So basically, it's a shuttle that sort of allows the glucose in. But if it's blocked, then it won't come out and pull in the sugars. Therefore, the sugars build up. And that's
so let's give you a noise visualization. This is what's supposed to happen. Insulin's supposed to knock on the door just like this, a normal knock, all right?
Yeah.
But if you're insulin resistant, insulin comes along.
This is a bad one. Sorry, Matt.
Sorry, Matt. The headphones on there. But
it's banging on the door and then no one's answering. A bit like people these days. You know, back in the day, someone would knock on the door and you'd answer.
Yeah.
No, you don't anymore.
No.
You don't answer your phone if you don't know the person. You don't answer the door.
I rarely make phone calls on my phone. I just do emails.
Yeah, that's true. So
messages.
Yeah, so it's a bit like that when the GLUT4 doesn't want to come to the door and let the sugar in.
No, I mean, and you get eventually it doesn't open up enough and you get high blood sugar and then they are diabetes. And you got to remember that's about 1 million Australians out of our 27 million have type 2 diabetes. So insulin resistance is in about, depending on the study, 30% of the population.
Which is crazy.
So it's one person in this room's got insulin resistance, not me. You?
Not me.
Yeah, we're all pointing.
You both always point at me.
This is pick on girl day.
Yeah, this is pick on me day. It's always pick on me day in this room.
So that's a GLUT4 transporter. Well, that sounds pretty cool. GLUT2 in the liver, just so you know, that's different. Now, if you're insulin resistant, what happens, of course, is GLUT2 doesn't work, and I know we're talking a lot about that today, but that means the liver goes, this poor person is starving of sugar. I'm going to make more.
Yes.
So it breaks down muscle tissue to make sugars.
That's right.
And that's why you wake up in the morning, you got glucose levels above 6, and that's your diabetes. So people wake up, why have I got high blood sugar in the morning? It's because you're insulin resistant and your liver thinks you're starving, so it's making sugar erroneously. Yeah. Because we're not designed to have these sugars and grains in the diet.
No, we're not. No,
grains have been around about 10,000 years. Humans have been around about 1 million. Yeah. So it's 1% of the population, 1% of the timeline. It's a fad diet.
That's right.
And people think giving up grains is a fad.
Yeah, right.
you
I
heard that?
know.
It's like-
Giving up with starting them is
Yeah, I know. It's so weird. I could
Yeah.
never figure that out.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want these fad diets, the no grain diet. Yeah, like we have for
Yeah.
about 1 million years. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it is pretty much it. Yeah, so that's kind of that's sort of the foundation we set.
Yep.
So then we'll talk about, okay, so if it's not diet related, if
Yeah.
it's not just diet, if you're not
No.
eating high carbohydrates and lots of sugars in your diet, then why would you be getting insulin resistance? So like, why? So,
Yeah.
but there are multiple reasons why, and one of them is chronic inflammation.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a good one. So, so it reduces insulin sensitivity.
Yep.
So it cuts the signaling. So
Yep.
oxidative stress harms the beta cells.
Yes, which is the pancreas cells.
Yep.
Yep.
So that worsens that resistance.
Yep.
High CRP levels.
C-reactive protein is
Yep.
an inflammatory marker that your doctor can test for.
Yep. So that doubles the risk. And toxins and gut LPS, so
Yep.
lipopolysaccharides we've talked about, they
Yep.
breach the gut barrier and go into systemic circulation, and they can fuel that inflammation and that oxidative stress.
Yep.
So if it's chronic, then definitely that inflammation and the oxidative stress that it creates can drive insulin resistance. So,
Wow.
so you could be having a great diet, but you could have underlying issues. You could have infections, a mold infection,
Shitty gut, yeah.
shitty gut, you can that can drive that insulin resistance. So
Wow.
and that's a really common thing as well. I think inflammation is
yeah.
very common for multiple reasons. People can be quite inflamed and have a lot of oxidative stress.
Well, like around 10% of the population have arthritis, which is the inflammatory condition, because it ends in itis.
Yes.
Itis means inflammation.
Yeah.
So arthritis, conjunctivitis, all these.
Gastritis, all the things.
Yes, all the and they're everywhere. And we eat an inflammatory diet, too much omega-6 oils.
Yeah.
These sorts of things that drive inflammation. So yeah, absolutely, it can be very problematic. And chronic inflammation is everywhere. And we should be having diets full of gingers and turmerics to reduce that load, but also not to get the inflammation in the first place.
Well, that's right. Don't consume the foods that create inflammation.
Which are sugary foods too.
Sugary foods, highly processed foods. And someone might say, but I don't eat I don't eat sugary foods, but they deep fried foods and that sort of thing. So highly processed foods that, well, to be honest, contain a lot of sugar, even if they're savoury.
Do you always used to question people when they say, I don't eat a lot of sugar?
Yes, well, I have.
What a loaded statement, isn't it?
I have had clients say, I don't eat any sugar.
Oh, any wow.
Sugar. I said, okay, so they drink coffee. So do you put sugar in your coffee? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Or I'll have a pastry every couple of days. But, oh, yeah, hang on a minute, that is sugar. Like they don't sort of, I guess I don't know if it's just the act of using sugar itself is where some people get confused and they're eating it in their foods and they don't realise. So there's sugar in nearly every processed food there is. It's in all your sauces, your mayonnaises. It's in a lot of savoury things like all your flavourings and things have a lot of sugar in them as well. So you may not be actually eating like a what do you call them? A pastry or
like a sugary,
dessert things and cakes and things like that, and adding sugar to anything. But if you're eating processed foods, you're still getting a lot of sugar.
Well, tomato and barbecue sauce are loaded with sugar.
I had to give up tomatoes. Yeah, barbecue sauce is worse, actually. That is true. I had to give up tomato sauce years ago because I got a bit of an addiction to it.
Oh, I love it.
And it's because of the sugar.
I get the real low sugar stuff.
See, I hate tomato soup. Hate it. Can't stand it.
Really?
But I loved tomato sauce because it was pretty much just sugar. I gave that up a long time ago. But yeah, barbecue sauce is actually worse. It's much higher in sugar. So people, they like smear barbecue or any sauces really are very high in sugar. Sweet chili sauce, all those things.
Well, sweet,
right? Yeah, your sticky soys and all that sort of thing. They all have a lot of sugar in them.
Like also bread. The brown part on the outside of bread. That's a Maillard reaction, which is sugar burning with it's very bad glycosylation stuff, but that's sugar burning with proteins. So even your morning toast is full of sugar. And even if you're not eating sugar, you're eating grains, it turns into sugar in the body. So you're always going to get inflammation. Sugar's a real, it's tricky. And then, there's the artificial sweetener thing. ATP News, no artificial sweeteners.
No, none.
Just
naturals.
All natural weird. And I'm drinking some right now.
You are drinking some right now.
I won't tell what's in there because it doesn't relate to this, but it's good for me.
It is, yes.
Loads of magnesium and creatine.
Yes, very good. Very good.
I come in here and basically steal the products.
I know
out of the kitchen.
Steve goes into
gorge
the
and
kitchen
go
and raids
home.
the cupboards. I mean, because the cupboards have all the products in there for all the staff to use.
Yes.
He just comes out with a bottle with this concoction. That's why sometimes in the podcast you're just a little bit intense.
Yes.
It's because God knows what you've got in that drink some days.
Oh, yeah, there's some caffeinated beverages.
You just mix a lot of stuff together and hope for the best.
There's no stimulants in that one.
Oh, well,
in fact, there's magnesiums, which relax me.
That's right. That's good. It's what you need more of. Steve.
Yeah, I think so. Settle down a bit.
That's right.
But no, I like to buzz through this sort of stuff. So inflammation, really bad. Now, how do you measure inflammation? You can go to your doctor, get C-reactive protein or ESR, your erythrocyte sedimentary rate testing. But it's a lot of people, if you're having a bad diet, are chronically inflamed.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, so that sort of thing. All right, so that's one way you get insulin resistance, chronic inflammation. Yeah, even you've mentioned here, dental infections.
Yeah, periodontal diseases and things like that, root canals, obviously can create a lot of systemic infection from the bacteria that's translocating from the mouth. Definitely not an uncommon thing. So lots of underlying sort of low-grade infections can cause inflammation as well.
The next one is another real common one.
Yeah, this one's probably the most common one of all. Cortisol excess.
Oh.
Yeah. So
what's cortisol? When's it released?
We all know cortisol is a stress hormone. Yep. It's released under stress, and it drives insulin resistance. So it boosts that liver gluconeogenesis, which is what you were talking about before.
Yes.
So it raises glucose by up 20 to 25%.
Jesus.
It impairs that GLUT4 translocation. Yep. So it keeps that glucose out of the muscle, increases the visceral fat gain, which we know about. That's the cortisol
fat.
tire around
the spare tire that a lot of men and women get around their belly.
Yeah,
and you see it a lot. I see it. It's physically obvious to people. The problem with this is that we're picking on cortisol, but again, this sugar in the blood is a great idea if you need to fight or flight.
Yeah.
It's just that people fighting or flighting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. So interesting story. I treated quite a while ago now, a few years ago, a relatively high profile athlete in Australia, that is. And they were extremely fit. They were at a very high level, professional level, extremely fit. They had insulin resistance, severe insulin resistance.
Really?
Yeah, because
I know you're not getting by names, but what sort of athlete? Was it cardio? Was it strength?
It was cardio.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. And it was a female. And very high testosterone levels.
Ooh.
Because her sport was an aggressive sport. It was a very male sport.
Oh. Jeez. Now, I'm gonna after this podcast, I'm gonna ask you who it was.
I'll tell you, yeah.
But here's the interesting thing. And now just to give people a bit of biochemistry lesson. When you make a lot of cortisol and you're a woman, there's an enzyme that detoxifies cortisol back and gets rid of it, which, that's why it doesn't say elevate. And the same enzyme gets rid of testosterone, 11-hydroxysteroid beta dehydrogenase.
That's right.
So if you've got loads of cortisol, you're going to end up with the backlog of testosterone.
That's right.
So,
and their case in point is PCOS,
yes,
which is an insulin-driven condition, not a testosterone-driven condition. Yeah. Very interesting. So cortisol, and who doesn't have a lot of stress? So you could be having the best diet, exercising, but if you're chronically stressed, there'll be other issues on top of that. But you could well be quite insulin resistant. And I test insulin very often with clients. So I'll get them to go and we have to pay for it the majority of the time. Because a lot of the drivers can be, even though they might go to a doctor and they don't look overweight specifically, and their lifestyle is not unhealthy. So the doctors, we don't need to test your insulin. But I have had it come back high so many times. And my insulin, once I was going through a lot of stress at one point, really busy, really lots of stuff going on. My insulin went up to 21.
I can't even remember the ranges for insulin. I know glucose, I know hemoglobin A1C. What's the range of insulin?
So you really want to have your insulin below 10.
Okay.
Yeah. So 21 was a little bit too high, and I was just highly stressed. So, I'd been stressed.
And you're lean.
Yeah, and I was leaner then as well. So, my stress went on for about a month, the chronic stress. I was working long hours and things like that.
Yeah.
And my insulin shot up
Shit.
So stress alone can, and then obviously long term, then you develop insulin resistance, and then you start to have the fallout from that. You know, the weight gain, the catabolism, all of that sort of thing going on.
Metabolism of your muscle mass too.
That's right, exactly.
Tough
so
to get back.
why am I putting on weight and losing muscle? I'm exercising. I'm doing all the things. But they're highly stressed. They're chronically high cortisol levels. Then that's creating that environment where they're going to become insulin resistant.
It's absolutely scary that there's that there's a lot of people around, and you see them visibly that have that cortisol belt, and you just think, what's going on in your life to cause that massive abdominal fat? Yeah,
and puffiness as well. So they get puffy under the eyes. They can get puffiness in their hands, and so they'll get that kind of fluid retention,
like a moon face sort of thing, which is chronic corticosteroid use. You get moon face, which is a big puffy round face Bert Newton used to, they called him Old Moon Face.
They did call him.
Do you remember him?
Yeah, I remember him. Used to grow up watching his.
Forgot you were old.
Show. Thanks, you forgot I'm old. Thanks, Steve.
You know, I've met Bert Newton once.
Have you?
Yes.
Really?
In 2004.
How did that?
I was doing a TV thing for, I was a radical low carbohydrate guy back then too.
Oh no!
One of those weirdos. And we were talking about debating a dietitian, on TV about how grains are maybe not that healthy for you in 2004. It's funny.
That would not have been accepted as well then.
No.
You would have been one of those I
was out
weirdos.
There. And it was like everyone back then said you've got to have bread and flour and sugars and it's like, but now it's like, I think I'd love to. That dietitian was about my age. She'd be still around now. So I'd love to talk to her and say, have your views changed? Do you still think we need flour? Do we hunt down and kill a bowl of wheat? Do we eat from a pasta plant? Do we, what is it? I mean, now we're arguing more so, is carnivore or keto or all this sort of stuff. And it's like, we're so off flour now that but I wonder if this person still promotes flour-based products.
I mean, there's still a lot of dietitians out there that do.
Really?
Oh, yeah, the mainstream media, they do. Yeah, on TV, in the mainstream media, you get dietitians on that promote, the carbohydrates, 4 to, they say sort of 4 to 6, not 11 is what we've spoken about.
They went away from that, didn't they?
Yeah, really important in the diet. But we did the grains podcast. We showed that.
I'm just curious why they think it's important now. I mean, there's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate, essential amino acids, essential fats. So I'm just, I'm struggling with that one because I want to see how that goes. I want to fast forward right now 20 years and see if those people are still promoting flour-based products like the Wheat Bix and the morning cereals and the breads and brown breads, pink breads, whatever colour they are, it doesn't matter. But I'm just wondering if that's still going to be a thing in 20 years.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see what their opinion is now. So now that we know a lot more than we did 20 years ago.
Yeah. God.
So chronic stress can drive insulin resistance.
Bad for your brain. It shrinks your hippocampus and all sorts of things. It's just shocking. Yeah. But cortisol naturally spikes in the morning when we get up and do we naturally do our exercise. And that's why that's one of the reasons why I exercise first thing in the morning. I was a stressful run this morning for me.
I bet.
Oh, running's always stressful.
I was going to say running would stress me out. I don't run.
It's I don't like going to the gym either. And I think people say, "Oh, how are you motivated to run?" So I'm not motivated to run. I'm disciplined to run. Motivation is so overrated. I think. Yeah. Oh, I'm not motivated to go to the gym. So well, neither am I. I don't like going to the gym. Yeah, my body does, so I drag
yourself. Sometimes.
But you like exercise, don't you?
Well, I love the gym. Yeah. I don't run. I hate.
You like
can't
run.
She
loves the gym.
Hate running. Yeah, but I love I've got a treadmill at home and bike and all that sort of stuff. So I do my cardio, but I do it under duress. I don't like doing it. I'd much rather just do weights all day. But there's many days where I get up and I'm exhausted and I'm like, I don't want to go and train. And I'll start, and there's many times that I'll start and I'll do, one set and I go, okay, I can't. I'm just going to go back because my house, I train in my house. So it's easy for me to just walk back inside. But I don't. I keep pushing through because I'm like, you've got to do it. Because
you see clients, you still see clients this very day. Nicole Brown Naturopathy. Google Nicole Brown Naturopathy, and you'll be there. And so that's your main gig. And so you can, I guess working from home, you can sort of fit in training other times.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I've set my life up so that I can because training is still my main priority in life. If I can't train, you don't want to be around me. So,
you're like Beck.
yeah. So I can set it up around my work and that sort of thing. So, which is good. But there's many days that I don't feel like training, and I've only just got back into full training after having a little bit of a time not away from training, but my training schedule really did change somewhat. Now I'm back full, and it's hard. It's hard to get back into it, but I love it.
You're looking good though. You've bulked up with muscle.
Yeah, bulked up a little bit, too much maybe.
Oh, don't say that.
Yeah, getting a bit bulky.
Can't be too bulky.
Just got to strip the
too much muscle.
So cortisol excess. So you can do a cortisol profile.
Yes.
So salivary profile. So
do you still do that 4 times a day?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yep. It's the same as when I was testing it.
Yeah, and you can do an insomnia one as well. So you can do one middle of the night. So, well, not middle of the night or late at night. So you do an insomnia one. So if you're waking up, someone that wakes up in the middle of the night, you can then do a test then to see whether your cortisol is waking you up or not.
Because cortisol suppresses serotonin, which keeps you awake, sort of thing too.
Yeah.
It's a stress hormone. It does keep you awake.
Yeah,
so,
it does.
all right. So that's a bad one. That's bad for your insulin and brain and everything.
Yeah.
And body and everything. But what else can cause, dysregulation of insulin?
Hormonal imbalances, Steve. Really common. So obviously PCOS, as we said.
Yes, polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Yeah, and there are different types of PCOS. So there's insulin-driven, there's post-pill PCOS, there's inflammatory PCOS, and adrenal PCOS. So there's different types. Different
types, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not just all the same thing, but that can be one. But here's a really common one.
What?
Postmenopausal women, Steve.
Oh,
really
those
common. Yeah.
women?
Yeah, those women. Horrible group age.
All right, what happens when you go through menopause, Nick?
So obviously your estrogen drops significantly. Estrogen is very good at sensitizing insulin. Yeah. So you're quite insulin sensitive. So when you lose that estrogen, you can become very insulin resistant, which is why a lot of postmenopausal women will put on weight around their belly.
Yeah.
So they start putting weight on all over. They can't get off, but they lose their muscle and they put on this weight around their belly, and they get more of a male type of figure. So they lose that hourglass figure.
Yeah.
And so, insulin resistance is generally the driver, along with a few other things, of their weight gain postmenopausal and the weight loss resistance. Yeah. So that's really, really common. That's probably the biggest one. And then adrenal issues, which comes back to that cortisol as well. Hormonal dysregulation can be quite significant. Even for men, if their testosterone drops or they're aromatizing to estrogen and their estrogen becomes quite high, they can also have issues with blood sugars and insulin as well.
It's funny because, women love estrogen, we love testosterone, and dysregulation of either are our main drivers of insulin resistance. And it's weird that there's an opposite hormone.
That's right.
Like if women get too much testosterone, PCOS but PCOS stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. Now, syndrome is a group of symptoms. So as you said, there's a vast variety of poly. You don't even have to have cysts on your ovaries to have polycystic ovarian syndrome.
No, and that's not a diagnostic criteria.
No.
So if you've been diagnosed with PCOS, this is not a PCOS podcast, but if you've been diagnosed with PCOS based purely on this, you have cysts on your ovaries. Every woman has cysts on their ovaries because they have follicles.
Yeah.
So, and that's a really big, I think I mentioned this in a podcast previously, young girls that maybe are not getting their periods, or they're getting a period and it's very sporadic when they first start to get it. And it can take a few years for hormones to regulate. Just like when you go through menopause, it's up and down, or, perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, you have wild fluctuations. So it takes time. Same with young girls who are just starting to cycle. It can take some time, but if they have a dysregulated or an irregular cycle, they get taken to the doctor and the doctor says, oh, well, you've got cysts all over your ovaries, you have PCOS, put you on the pill. Wow. And most of the time, all young girls have cysts on their ovaries because they're just starting to develop these follicles. So it's a big, it's a really big thing to watch out for. So you have to have internal ultrasound, but you also have to have blood testing. You have to have all the other testing done. You can't diagnose it purely on an ultrasound. So
ask for a transvaginal ultrasound. That's the diagnostic criteria. Now, just on women and those sorts of hormones, I'm just looking ahead a bit here. We probably talk about it now, is pregnancy-induced insulin resistance. we have to limit this, but very quickly. Progesterone levels go through the roof when you're pregnant. That's where the name progesterone comes from. So insulin levels relatively go down to progesterone, so they develop insulin resistance. And you've heard of gestational diabetes.
Yes.
A lot of women get that. And it doesn't mean every woman's going to get it, but if they're a little bit prone towards that, they're not exercising or they're not eating well, this may just tip them over the edge.
Definitely, yes.
And about 1 in 6 women get it.
Yep.
So quite common.
It's not uncommon at all.
No, and they treat that with drugs, unfortunately, but exercise diet's the best way to go. And you have to eat better when you're pregnant.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and a lot of women don't.
Yeah, I know. A lot of women really don't.
Oh, but I'm craving XYZ. Well, what if a drug addict's craving heroin? That's not a very good.
No,
it's not very good. It's not a very good way to pick your foods or whatever.
No. And then you're disrupting your gut microbiome, and then if you have a baby naturally, it's picking up your microbiome, and then it's going to take on. So, they say obesity runs in families, and it's not always genetic. It's a lot of it's from the microbiome. So you have a baby. It's born the natural way, so it gets a mouthful of the bugs and that sets up its microbiome. So its microbiome will be very similar to the mother's or almost the same. So if the mother has a microbiome that's sort of imbalanced and can cause obesity, then the baby can pick that up as well. And that's where and then if that baby then grows up and doesn't, improve their gut health and they have obesity and they have that sort of that gut microbiome pattern and they have a baby, and that's where that can be a big thing. So genetics, I don't think naturally genetically there's ever people don't come out obese. You know what I mean? Like you can have people with big bone structure and things like that, tall and larger frame, but yeah, a lot of it is microbiome related.
You know what they say about obesity? It doesn't run in the family. It's just that no one knows. I'm going to get some emails about it.
I know we're going to get in trouble, but anyway.
Well, that's true. Now, this one, Nick, next one you're going to know a bit about, aren't you?
I know a lot about this one.
You were telling me something about, my God, I'm just looking at the hours.
I know. It's scary,
wow. Okay, I'm starting to think about my sleep last night. Okay, what are we talking about? What's number 4?
Sleep disruption or sleep dysregulation. So poor sleep.
Yeah.
Really, really hugely negatively impactful on.
So what are you talking, 1 or 2 hours a night? So
less than 6 hours cuts insulin sensitivity by up to 30%.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Like less than 6 hours. The night before last I had 3 hours.
Oh,
and then last night I think I never really sleep well when I have to come down here.
Because you're in Brisbane now and you come down from your home up north and you stay a night and we do record podcasts, obviously. Yeah. So you stay at a hotel.
Yeah.
And you don't take drugs.
No.
You should take drugs.
No, I don't take drugs.
No, but okay, so you slept 3 hours because you wake up at 3 and 4.
Yeah, because I always, you're conscious of I have to get up at 3. So you always, what time is it now? What time is it now?
Yeah.
So I never sleep well because it's a 3-4 hour drive here. And then we record all day and then I go to the hotel and then I'm sort of prepped for the next day. And then so I don't sleep really well and then I've got to drive back today. So this sort of block when I'm down here, it can be quite hard on my sleep. So yeah, poor sleep. So obviously you're not sleeping well. A lot of it's insulin. That's due to cortisol, as I said, which impairs that GLUT4 function. So yeah, one bad night's sleep can up your insulin resistance by 15%. One bad night's sleep. So imagine if you're a chronic insomniac.
Yeah.
And you're not getting sleep at all. Imagine what that's doing for your insulin sensitivity. It's just tanking.
There's people I know that get up in the middle of the night to trade shares.
I know people that do that too. I know. It's crazy.
Good on you. You might make money, but you're going to die.
Yeah.
Literally, if one night's sleep's going to cause this many problems, can you imagine that? I didn't know. We're going to talk about that after the podcast.
No, I have had friends that do that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
It's funny. The people I know are not very healthy, so
there you go.
But isn't that nuts?
Well, that's why a lot of people who do night shifts as well can have issues with insulin resistance.
I don't. Some people do all right in night duty. I did it for a month when I was a chemist.
Yeah.
That sucked.
And I think,
and I was young. I was like 21.
Yeah.
Just after I had AS at the time.
Yeah.
Because I remember it was weird because in the afternoon my back was better. And so the night was okay. But after I woke up at like 3 in the hour, my back was killing me. It's weird. It was just all screwed it up.
Yeah.
So quite amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
I can't believe and the paper is published here in Sleep Advances in 2023. So you're using medical studies. We're not just making up 30%.
Not making it up.
None of this made up. It all references galore through this.
Yeah.
So isn't that nuts?
Yeah. So
one sleep, less than 6 hours. Now, last night, I had more than 6 hours.
Okay.
But I'm old, so, it's like.
Well, yeah, I usually I'm usually in bed by 8:30.
Yeah. Most
nights. I'm up at 5, 4:45.
Generally. Yeah. I woke up this morning at 4 and went for a run because it takes – I live on the Gold Coast and driving to Brisbane, and it takes almost an hour.
But sometimes I get emails from you at like 3:50 in the morning, random times, 3:50 in the morning. Steve's up sending emails.
I sent an email to the marketing manager this morning at 4 and I went, oh, she's only new, so I better sort of say something to her. So I'm sorry, I'll just do that. And she said, I just got it at 8, Oh, good. Yeah. Because it's not like ringing someone.
Well, no, that's right.
I don't know. I think emails are okay.
Emails are fine. It just makes me laugh at the times that you're sending them. I'm like, there you go, Steve's up early again.
Well, you're just waiting for the drugs.
Or I get an Instagram reel sent to me at like 4 in the morning.
I do that to you too. That's true.
That's
quite funny stuff.
It is funny. So so sleep, poor sleep.
Yep.
Which is again a really common thing for a lot of people. So that can be a driver of insulin resistance. Here's another one for you, Steve.
What's it?
Dysbiosis.
Oh, no one's got that.
No, that's right.
Holy
exactly.
Mackerel.
So dysbiosis. So dysbiosis basically means any sort of imbalance between the healthy bacteria and the more inflammatory or pathogenic bacteria. So you could be producing a lot of lipopolysaccharide producing bacteria.
So they're bad things when the bacteria dies, yeah?
Yeah. So that triggers toll-like receptor 4. So inflammation.
Yep.
And then low short-chain fatty acid production, particularly butyrate.
Butyrate, yeah.
Yeah. So these cuts, so we all know about the GLP-1 agonists and the drugs and things. So butyrate is kind of a GLP-1 agonist.
Yes. So it really regulates appetite.
Yeah. So if you have very low levels of that, that can also impact your insulin levels as well. So stress, that sort of thing, that it impacts the gut as well. So, so if you have chronic stress, which means you're not sleeping well, which is then going to impact your gut health. So all three of these things together, which then also could create hormonal dysregulation. You're going to be a mess. So your insulin sensitivity is going to be extremely low.
Yep. I've got a great, there's a paper in Microbiome 2022. It says dysbiosis raises insulin resistance by 20% and probiotics or good bugs reduce it by 10 to 15.
Yeah.
And that's right. Nutrients 23.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say you've got a bad gut, got inflammation, you've got sleep disruption. So therefore you're not exercising. What does that do?
Well, physical inactivity, we know that is horrendous for insulin sensitivity.
Well, your first statement here, 4 words: sedentary life cripples sensitivity.
Yeah.
I just love that.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Because we've talked about so many times, muscles are a very metabolically active organ, and they suck up the sugars and use them. So you move, it improves your blood sugar regulation, which is why exercise is so good for insulin resistance and diabetes, type 2 diabetes and things like that. Not moving. So inactive adults have up to 30% higher insulin resistance. So and
don't kid yourself with this. When people say, I used to ask people how they're active. Oh, they're very active, and I said, "What are you doing?" Well, I'm chasing around after my children. I said, "What do you mean chasing around?" It's like, are you running after them? No, I'm just driving Johnny to soccer and Julie to ballet. Yeah. This is not active. It's like getting your heart rate up shit.
Yeah.
And people don't do get No. Or they'll play golf. And that's good.
Yeah.
But it's not physical. Sorry?
I know someone does that, and they use the golf cart to get around.
Oh, God. Oh, yes, that's right.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yep, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. But see, that's not like you really got to stress your body out.
You do. And still the amount of people that I see that don't exercise floors me.
I'm too old not to. If I don't exercise, I'll turn into a crumpled heap of shit.
Well, yeah, and you because of the
arthritis
condition, but even just in general, when you get older, you get aches and pains. So when you stop, they get worse. You seize up, so you have to keep moving. But
when Beck and I wake up in the morning, we don't talk about good morning or anything like that. We say, how'd you sleep? What aches this morning? You wake up and you're always in pain of something.
Yeah.
So,
I usually get up. My Achilles are playing up at the moment, so I shuffle down the hallway.
Oh, mine used to. I'm good now.
I don't know what it is. I think it's beach walking. I don't know. Since I walk on the beach every day now, my Achilles hurt.
Does Ruger drag you around the beach?
Yeah, he does drag me around the beach. So, but I shuffle down the hallway, and then within 10 minutes I'm warmed up and I'm good to go. So that's good old age for you. But yeah, inactivity, surprisingly how common it still is, even in amongst people who are like to live a healthy lifestyle. They don't exercise. So exercise is vitally important. We've talked about it so many times.
It's a no-brainer. It's almost like, this is the first thing you should do. It's free. It's and you recommend about 150 minutes per week. I don't think that's too much. No.
150 minutes a week is nothing. No. I would do I do 120 minutes a day of exercise.
Yeah. Now let's break it down into a percentage. So let's say 30 minutes a day, which is more than 150 a week, right? So 30 minutes times 7 is 210. So 30 minutes a day, let's be really, and it's got to be huffy-puffy exercise, resistance, stress, something. But anyway, let's get 30 minutes a day is about 2% of your day.
Yeah. I mean, how many people would waste 30 minutes scrolling on social media?
Oh, I do. But I also exercise.
That's right, yeah.
So, it really is a very low percentage of your day.
It's very low. And I don't think there'd be anyone on the face of the earth that wouldn't waste at least 30 minutes in their day somewhere where they could be doing something else.
Just over 2%, doing the maths
on the couch or watching TV or, scrolling or doing something. You can always find time.
And people say, I haven't got time. It's like, you'll sleep better. And so you'll get more efficient sleep. So you'll make up that 30 minutes easy with your sleep thing.
Yeah,
so don't give me this, I haven't got time. Yeah. It's not about having time. It's about making time.
And it could be, there'll be probably mothers out there with a new baby saying, yeah, but what about that doesn't apply, which 100% agree. It can in the initial stages, you don't have time, but you can always do some stretching or, you wouldn't want to be doing any heavy exercise, obviously straight after you've had a baby, of course. But you could, you could do some stretching for 10 minutes or you could do some little body weight when you're allowed to exercise. So there's always time you can do something.
Like on my run this morning, there was a lady pushing a pram and the baby was very, very young.
Yeah, well, they love that movement, don't they?
I don't know. I don't know anything about kids.
We're not kidding people. We don't have kids.
But she was out walking the pram quite vigorously with the baby.
Yeah.
And it was about 5:30 in the morning. It's quite early. So good on her.
Yeah, it's great. So exercise, I think everyone's pretty aware that that's going to be a factor, but that is one. Here's another one for you, Steve.
This is interesting.
Mitochondrial dysfunction.
Right.
Which is, again, becoming more and more prevalent for many different reasons. So we've talked about mitochondria many times. That's the little batteries that, in about every cell in your body, they produce ATP. So when they're not functioning very well, that can be from oxidative stress. It can be from chronic stress. It can be from infections. It can be from other things that people have had
and
given
also
to them.
aging.
Aging is a big one. Yeah, that's true, Steve. Yeah, heavy metals, anything that will impact your mitochondrial function. So low ATP levels will build up fat, so it impairs that pathway by 15 to 20%.
Jeez, these percentages are adding up.
I know.
There's a lot of people listening that have got a few of these.
Yeah,
we're at our 7th thing.
We're on a 7th.
And there's another one to come. But I'll tell you what, you've got absolute loads of these things going on. It's incredible.
Yeah, definitely. So mitochondrial helps you to burn your sugars.
Yep.
See? So when they're not working properly, then you can have those insulin spikes, low ATP. So that, if you've got low CoQ10, magnesium, the nutrients that help to drive mitochondrial function, that reduces your GLUT4 so by 15 to 20%. And then the reactive oxygen species, so that sort of the oxidative stress overload from the poor fatty acid oxidation and that type of thing, that actually impairs that signalling as well. Heavy metals, as I said, and aging, as you said. So mitochondrial dysfunction is quite significant. Can be quite a significant driver of insulin resistance.
It's remarkable. I mean, and so if you've got low magnesium or low CoQ10 levels, you've got it.
Yeah.
I haven't got low magnesium.
No, we have a lot of magnesium.
All right, right now I have.
You are.
All right, that's interesting. The last one is another one that a lot of people are on.
Medications.
Oh.
Medications can. So any sort of corticosteroid.
They're male offenders,
they can spike your glucose, obviously. Statins can raise resistance by up to 15% due to the lipid shifting.
And absolutely, there's a massive link between statin medication, that's your anti-cholesterol medication, and diabetes hugely.
And also the statins impact your mitochondria as well.
They do too, They screw 𝐂𝐃10.
So there's another layer on top of that.
And a lot of people on statins don't exercise.
Yeah, a lot.
So
of course there's that.
Yeah. Jeez.
Antipsychotics. Yeah, so they
olanzapine, that's a good benzo.
Yeah.
They say people have is a very common one.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot. So so you want to be careful if you're on any sort of corticosteroid, as I said, statins, that sort of thing, really common medication statins.
It's incredible. And what we're talking about insulin resistance here, and insulin is a very new chemical to nature, really. I mean, it's been in our bodies forever, but the first injection of insulin for a diabetic was given in 1922. So we're only talking 100 years of insulin being a thing.
Yeah.
Because insulin resistance was a lot lower. If go on, you see these old videos of 1970s beaches around Australia.
Yeah, there wasn't any.
Very lean, people are very active.
Yeah.
They didn't go to the gym as much as we do.
No.
And yet they were leaner and everything like that. It's just less crap in their diet.
Well, the food has changed significantly. We have much more sedentary lifestyles now. There's so many differences from when we grew up. It was very uncommon to see an obese person when we were growing up. None of my friends were, because you're always out doing things. I don't remember ever sitting around, even when I was a kid. You're always out playing outside, or you come in at night time and eat your dinner and go to bed. Otherwise, you're just running around. And, job-wise, yes, there's always been office jobs, but now everything. I mean, I could sit for 12 hours a day, with my work if I didn't.
I do sit for 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
On my ass, here and that. I mean, it's not physically taxing what we're doing now.
No.
It's quite remarkable. But if you just, go back 40 years, 50 years, it's because we didn't play computer games because computers were very expensive.
They were. I know. We had the Pac-Mans and the Space Invaders and the little
Space Invaders
dashes.
The Space Invaders, you'd go to the arcade and it was 20 cents a game, and that was about I didn't have much money as a kid.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
So we didn't play computer games until the Atari 2600 came out.
Yeah, we got the Atari. We got an Atari. I don't know what it was, but
I remember riding around to my mate's place in the couple of suburbs across. Yeah. And we'd play Atari there and I'd ride home.
Yeah.
So I'd get about an hour of activity on my bike.
Yeah.
Just getting to – nowadays everybody's got a computer game, every kid, and a phone.
Yeah, and you can sit there and scroll. Yeah, they get the thumb exercises in by scrolling, but that's about it. Or their finger exercises in. But
it's got massive thumbs.
Yeah, I know. In 100 years' time, adults of humans will have this huge thumb, and they'll have a neck they'll be looking down.
Yeah,
it's just
that's it. Well, it's funny because we talk about evolution of the human body, and our mouth, for example, has shrunk. That's why our teeth are very crooked. If you go back and look at the skulls of people, 50,000 years ago, their teeth were always quite good.
Yeah.
And now it's because our mouth size has dropped because we're not chewing, things much anymore because we can refine them.
That's right.
So quite remarkable, Nick. But okay, so look, you've just given us 8 reasons to be depressed. What do we do about all this? What's the fix?
So the first thing you really need to do is whenever you're getting blood testing done, ask for insulin.
Yes, that's a good one.
And your doctor won't always approve it, but you can get it done yourself, and it's around about $30, I think, from memory now. It's not overly expensive. I mean, some people obviously that might, they have a lot of other expenses, but that would be one thing, the first thing to do, to have a look at your insulin levels. And if they're high, then you really need to do something about it. Because, I have clients come to me that they have all these problems, and they say, the doctors said there's nothing wrong, my bloods look fine, I've these, but they have significant symptoms, and then we retest, and a lot of times they have insulin resistance. Yeah. And to look at them, you wouldn't go, well, you're a classic insulin resistant type picture, because they're not overweight specifically. Yeah. They might have a lot of internal fat around their organs and things like that, fatty livers, and that metabolic type picture. But from external, they don't look that way.
They could have sarcopenic obesity, which is low muscle, high fat.
Yeah.
And they don't look overweight.
No.
And I hate that term. Oh, but they're not overweight. It's like they're over fat.
They are, yeah. So body composition wise, their body fat is much higher than it should be. And as I said, even athletes can have insulin resistance.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's from the high cortisol and that sort of thing. So that'd be the first thing to do is just check your insulin levels. If you have any of these, if you fall under any of these categories, chronic stress, sleep dysregulation, gut issues, things like that. And then obviously you have to work on what's driving the insulin. In this case, any of these that we've talked about. So work on those and then, improve your insulin sensitivity will be, and you'll feel a lot better.
Exactly. And sleep. I mean, that's very important because if you sleep, you're going to improve this too, but you'll feel better.
Yeah. More
motivated. Lack of sleep causes cravings of bad food too.
Definitely, yeah, because your blood sugar just becomes dysregulated. Cortisol, right? Cortisol creates cravings. So for carbs and sugars.
So people sleep or people who eat a lot of sugar then end up going to sleep straight afterwards.
Yes.
What a
sugar coma too.
Oh, yeah, sugar coma.
Yeah, and then they wake up in the middle of the night and go, I can't sleep.
And then they have trouble sleeping at night and it's like, why? Because I slept all day.
Yeah.
And it's a train wreck. And then they've got, they don't exercise because they're tired and they need to sleep during the day because they can't sleep at night because they're tired because they've eaten badly, they don't exercise, so they've got no motivation, they've got no metabolism. It's just a train wreck.
Yeah, it is.
Then the hormones play up, then they get more sarcopenia, lack of muscles, they got less metabolism, they're less feeling like doing anything.
And they get inflamed on top of all that.
And then they get bad musculoskeletal disorders and then I can't do exercise because my knee's playing up and it's like, gee whiz. And we know about all this now. It's time to break. Look, we're not giving you easiest advice. We're giving the best advice.
Yeah, that's right.
Easy advice, do nothing and take drugs.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's a lose-lose proposition. Because then the drugs you're on, the statins and that, make it worse.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And you take a benzo to help you sleep, makes it worse.
Yeah, we're an instant gratification sort of, population now.
Yeah.
So it's something if you can't get the results quick, then don't do it. And that, unfortunately, for health and wellness and fitness, it's not an overnight thing. It can be, quite a long time to get yourself on track. So that's obviously the hard truth of it.
It's
being
true.
healthy it can be hard work. It takes time.
It is 100%. It's not like I know people who don't exercise and they say, I'm not motivated to exercise. Like, I'm not either. You've got to be disciplined to exercise, not motivated.
Yeah.
Motivation's so overrated.
Yeah, that's right.
You want me to go to the gym, it's like, I don't want to go, but I go.
Yeah.
Don't miss it.
Yeah.
Oh, so, you're lucky you like the gym. Beck likes the gym.
I like the gym.
I don't know how you guys, anyway, good. I'm glad you do. I'm glad she does, and I'm glad. But Nick, this is remarkable. What an 8-prong attack on your insulin resistance. And again, we're not even mentioning shitty diets, really.
No, so that's I think the whole premise of the podcast is to get people to thinking other than insulin resistance can come from things other than diet, high refined sugars and carbohydrate diet. So, as we said, someone could be on a perfect diet. Obviously, they're going to be having a lot of symptoms, but if they've got these underlying issues. But insulin is really important to get that checked. It should be under Medicare, but it's not. Like a lot of the things that should be that aren't.
Insulin's high, it's really bad because I've got a paper here, and I'm just going to read you the title.
Yeah.
Insulin and Aging, a Disappointing Relationship. Literally the title of it, published 2023. And I just love that because it's disappointing because if you have high insulin, you're aging.
That's right. Exactly.
And then people go do anti-aging injections. I
know, or the external.
They don't worry about the insulin. It's like you're dying. You're going to look great in your coffin. I don't get all that stuff.
And that's the funny thing, people age at different rates and there's reasons for that. So, someone who's a 50-year-old might look 20 years older than another 50-year-old, and that's because this insulin is really impacting them. So creating a lot of inflammation, oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, the whole thing, and you age much quicker. So
amazing.
So
all right, Nick. Well, we've run out of time, but that's been fantastic. What an interesting day. Well, thanks for that, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you guys.
See ya.